Nancy CHEN Long is part of the team that hosts the Guild's Last Sunday Poetry Reading Series. She is the author of 2 books of poetry, Wider Than the Sky, which was selected for the 2019 Diode Editions Book Award, and Light into Bodies, which won the 2016 Tampa Review Prize for Poetry. Her work has been supported by a National Endowment of the Arts Creative Writing Fellowship and the Poetry Society of America Robert H. Winter Award. She works at Indiana University in the Research Technologies Division.
So I'm glad to be here in this virtual space for the spoken word stage. I'm at the 4th Street Arts Fair. Thanks to Tony Brewer for all of his good work as the Guild's president and for organizing this. I'll be reading 4 poems for you. They're all from my 2nd book, Wider Than the Sky, which came out in March from Diode Editions. The book explores the porous and slippery nature of memory and mind, memory's recursive and sometimes surreal qualities, and also touches on breaches of memory such as gaps, erasures, and disappearance. The first poem that I'll be reading to you mentions a yellow poplar tree. It's also called a tulip poplar or a tulip tree. It's the Indiana state tree. It's called Reverberations. Reverberation. At home, working on a client's website, an archive of Yiddish memories, I look up in time to see a yellow poplar topple. Yesterday was Holocaust Remembrance Day. The hummingbirds have arrived like they do every April, flitting toward the lower branch of a weeping willow, to the only one of 5 feeders that remains. Year after year, even their offspring remember. The tree falls across a point where a creek branches into 2 streams. With my noise-canceling headphones on, all is silent as the 8-story poplar crashes in the morning light. Branches at first quaking, then slowing to stock still. My husband cuts a cross-section of the poplar's trunk. Look, 20 years ago, there was a fire. And that year there, a drought. He points to the tree's rings as if memories had been written on each circle. I remember the grade school lesson. If a tree falls, yet no one hears it, did it make a sound? Yesterday I heard a lie. Less than 2 million Jews were lost during the Holocaust. I also heard a truth. The first American airstrike against Americans was in 1921. A 35-block area attacked and bombed a black neighborhood in Tulsa. It's missing from our history books. Fewer and fewer of us remember fewer and fewer people that were killed. Waves of our collective memory ripple outward, slowly fading until we are left undisturbed, like the moss-covered water of a fetid pond. If 6 million people were killed in a genocide, if people were bombed by citizens of their own country, yet no one remembers, did it happen? The teacher says there is no such thing as sound. It's only compressed air. It's only if the airwaves encounter an ear. And even then, the ear doesn't hear. The brain does. I hear my mother singing, even though she's not here. When I was younger, I used to think that memories were like movies that played in your head. Like there was a movie reel and you could call it up whenever you wanted. I've since learned then that that is definitely not true. So this poem is about that. Memory reel. I wake this morning to a bruise the size of a plum on my left hand. I have a memory of hitting it, of thinking, I bet you'll forget all about this. A memory I can't be sure if it's real. My sister recalls smashing my hand in a car door antique Cadillac, white and baby blue, always smelled of mint. But she is running away, tearing through the double door of the high school as my father, in a rush, he slams the car door on my hand. I want to remember the person who said, memory is an opening door. I want to remember why the woman, I'm crying and she's rocking me. Why does she insist the self is the sum of its memories? She's stroking my hair still wet from the rain. If you lose your memories, what's left of you? My father, I told her, was stationed in Vietnam. When the whole family became sick, my mother and I both remember my father returning home. Weeks later, the Air Force sent him back to the war. My father has no memory of ever having come home. The man in the recording tells me the language of life is electrochemical, my every thought a chemical reaction. Morse code tapped into the corridors of my body. My body is a memory store. I retrieve a memory from my throat. A boy is kissing the soft of my neck. He can't stop trembling. I take his hand. We're laughing, the way snow across an Indiana farm field can brighten the night with only moonlight. This third poem that I'm going to be reading for you is called Your Brain Doesn't Contain Memories. Let me find it here. It is Memories. And it's one of three poems. There's three sections in the book, and they each start with a poem of the same title. Your brain doesn't contain memories, it is memories. It comprises a poetic sequence. That's the type of poem called A Golden Shovel, an Emily Dickinson poem. And it's also, the three poems are meditations on memory, touching on the familial, generational, and epigenetic aspects of it. So your brain doesn't contain memories, it is memories. If light is to the eye as language is to the mind, then memories are stories written upon the brain, and to be written upon is to be forever changed. Why is it so difficult for me to learn to see? Just a slip of evening light can transform the willow outside my kitchen window. The weight of a million memories bends the tree's supple branches of this, I am certain, into the silhouette of my mother. She's singing, God forgets our sins, as she tends the garden, pulling weeds, tilling forgiveness into the soil, kneading clay earth, the heft of it in her hands, like a god, fashioning a sinless child. Count them, the ways a parent can love a child encased in a 3-pound mound of gray matter. I am a memory seed scattered, destined for trial and error. Shall I grow into oleander? It would require a pound of my flesh. Or into useful maple, my utility in shade and sweet. Of this I am never certain. Those who know no different, can they remain blameless? After all, a child begins by imitating her parents. They will seem to her as gods. Her sight will be hers only when she can detect a difference between air and water, breathing and swallowing. It's as if hers and theirs are inseparable. Parents. They have no choice but to pass on what is encoded. The child's brain will do its part, processing the stimulus in harmony with its programming. As the child grows, she embraces the scorched language of her family. Which syllable must be swallowed no matter what, even if no one is breathing. From a hollow of a willow, a lullaby echoes. It's recorded in my DNA, that sound. This last poem is called Echo, and it's a short one. Echo. What happened here, I ask, touching a notch on the outer bark of a tree's cross-section. A branch was once there, my husband replies. Starting in the heartwood, the tree's rings ripple around the cleft like waves. Year after year, the tree remembered the missing, recorded echoes of the branch that had been destroyed.